Hey everyone, welcome to the Supercoach Watch Round 2 preview. It's Nicole from Wiki. We've got Sashane on the show. After round one, we can clearly tell who's done better. Sashane can't stop smiling, and I'm demotivated as hell. Sashane, how did you go round one?
Hey Nakul, hi everyone. I didn't go that well.
Relatively
I
well
think for the
then.
purpose of this, yeah, I think for the purpose of this show, I went better than you, which is the main thing that matters while we're recording this together. Um, yeah, so I finished on, well, round one's all done. The Heat triple that was supposed to be a triple, but ended up being a double, that's done. There was a whole bunch of other chaos, and I finished on 1077 points for the round. I'm 6.8K at the moment, which is not great, but I'm actually kind of okay, as we'll probably get into over the show. I'm actually kind of
Mm.
okay with how that round shook out overall.
Yep. Well, I was saying to Shane just before we started recording that I decided to play the fixture and go. I think I went five Heat players and four Renegades. So nine of my 11 players were from those teams, and they were the two of the four teams that got either abandoned due to the rain or the pitch. So, as you can understand, I did not have a great start to the season. Um, I was just looking at the Wiki Open group really quickly to see who's coming first. It's a guy whose
Hmm.
team name is the Cunning Stunts, and I gotta say, that cheered me up a little bit. So anyways, that person is ranked 125th, 125, sorry.
Yeah,
And I'm looking for one of my good mates is in the top 1,000. You said you were top, was it 6K, Shane? What was your rank?
six, yeah, 6.8K.
Yep, I'm just looking for your team. Ah, there you
I'm all
go.
the way down in
Yep,
111.
111th, 1077 points, 6.8K rank. I won't depress myself and go down to my rank, but I think I'm around the 17,000s in terms of my rank. Not a great start,
Okay.
but I reckon there's a couple of things that could change things quite dramatically. If that bloody game gets replayed, Scorchers v Renegades, that'll be huge for me because I had five players in that game, including my captain, Aaron Hardy. So that'll be huge. Do you reckon, Shane, it's one of those things where it either gets replayed now in the 6 day gap or it just doesn't get replayed at all?
Yeah, probably. This is the window to do it, right? I think, as far as I know, all the other, well, I know this through looking at Supercoach rounds, games are pretty much
Mm,
consecutive. Yeah, like I don't think there's any break between them apart from Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. I think we
yep.
have games pretty much every other day, at least into early January. So yeah, right up until the end of the year, there's New Year's Eve games, New Year's Day games, and I think until the fourth or the fifth at the very earliest. Yeah.
Well, I know that our families never celebrated Christmas, but all I want for Christmas this year is this game to happen. I need to I need to catch up on the fucking ranks. Anyways, let's do I think the first thing you had in mind was a round one recap. I think in terms
Yeah.
of the cricket, I was in a place with pretty shit internet, so I missed a lot of the actual action. Was there anything sort of like actual on field wise that you think is worth noting after the first sort of four or five games.
Yeah, stars don't look good. That was the thing that really jumped out. They had a double in round one actually. They played Heat on the first day of the comp, and then they played the last game of the round as well. They played Scorchers at home, but they were not good. Scorchers rolled them for 100 odd, whatever that was, and chased it down pretty easily. Heat, that was the game where Colin Munro got stuck in and he made 99 not out. And I think
Mm,
a lot of tears were shed by Neser vice captainers because I think in the time between the start of the first game, between our last pod and the start of the first game, Neser being named in the Heat squad. I think he was named. I think either the same day that we did the pod or the day after. I think that
yep.
really messed with people's teams and messed with people's established plans a lot.
Ah, yes, it
Um,
did.
I think I think Nisa threw a it was a spanner in the works for I think a lot of people.
Yep.
Uh, because like suddenly you had people thinking, oh, I got to get Nisa in now. He's even a captaincy. He's probably like there's three games, and obviously we didn't know about the strikers washout. We didn't know about the Scorchers game getting
Mm.
abandoned and all this other stuff that ended up happening. Um, it was basically like it really came down to, I think, if you captain Colin Munro, you will probably be feeling at least some level of good about your round one performance if you nail your captaincy play.
I think you summed up all that pretty much, well, perfectly. One thing that I think you got wrong though is you said the stars weren't great. Are you telling me that a batting order of Tom Rogers, Sam Harper, Bo Webster, Nick Larkin in there somewhere with John O'Merlo in the top seven is not a good batting order? Is that what you're trying to say? And you're saying Liam Dawson and Usama Mir can't get the job done in the middle to lower order?
I'm sorry, that's my bad. I shouldn't have doubted him.
Hey, Joe Burns could have been in there if he wasn't injured as well. It's a star-studded batting order. What are you talking about?
Truly a star started batting.
Yeah, well, far out. Yeah, like I think I saw the odds for the Scorchers. I think it was like 155 or so pre-game. And yeah, as I said, I was in a place with pretty crappy internet. I finally got back to civilization when we were working together tomorrow, and I probably just wasn't thinking straight. But man, if I was at home in Sydney, like watching these games every day, I would have launched into that
Mm,
$1.55 for the Scorchers because yes, the Stars
yeah.
were crap on paper pre-game, and the Scorchers just mauled them. It was yeah, an interesting watch. Going into round two, obviously they've got a few days off for the test because that's in Perth, which would have conflicted with BBL games. We know that there's when's the next game back? I think it's next Tuesday or Wednesday.
Tuesday, the 19th.
Sweet. Okay, so we've got a few days off. Aside from knowing that the strikers have the double, and is it the Stars that have the bye? Is that right?
Yes, that's
Yeah,
right.
aside from that, I have not looked into my team too much because it's not great viewing. I'm just hoping that they play that Scorchers Renegades game and then I'll really closely look at my team. Otherwise it's pretty ugly. But anyways, what are your thoughts before round two?
Yeah. Not too much. I think it's the extra time that we have. It's get a lot of people to think about their teams. We just came off a pretty chaotic round one. There's 6 days between the end of round one and the start of round two. Um, Plenty of time for people to rest, think, just take their time with trades, just relax, just think about it. Take your time, whether it's with trades or with other decisions. There's plenty of time to go. There's plenty more chaos that could happen. We could have more late withdrawals, team news, injuries, etc., etc., etc.
Mm,
So there's no. I think sometimes a quick turnaround between rounds is not the worst thing because then you don't overthink it. You just
mm.
think, oh, hey, the round two ended today, and then round three starts tomorrow. And well, Renegades have a double. I don't really want to think too much about it. I know that captaining Will Sutherland is the right thing to do, and that's what I'm going to do. Um, I guess like a long break could have upsides and downsides because, well, you sometimes you have time to think, just breathe, make a calm decision, or sometimes you just end up overthinking it.
Yeah, I think I've been caught out already. As much as I said I didn't want to look at my team, I did have a quick play around with trades like a minute before we started recording. And I was like,
Mm,
I think I've got Darcy Short in my team already as my only striker. So I was like, just
mm,
wanted to panic trade in Matt Short and Henry Thornton into my team just to see how it would look. And then I
mm.
realized, oh shit, I've got no money left. But I think I'm just gonna get desperate and keep playing the fixture. I don't really know what else to do. So I think the longer this week goes on, I'm going to get even more and more desperate and potentially just look at a boost as well to do something. I don't know. It's I
Yeah.
think you nailed it there where it's not going
Mm.
to help the extra time.
Uh, Well, interestingly, I was looking at, I think Honeyball tweeted something out today about, oh, well, round two might be an unexpected window for the boost. So you're clearly not the only one who's thinking about boosting this early in the comp,
Mm,
which is interesting. I mean, personally, I'm not looking to boost at all. I think the I so before the round one lockout, I planned out my trades between rounds one and two. So and that's mostly touch wood playing okay so far. Like there's not been any unexpected news yet that would cause me to change my plans. But yeah, so I basically had the first two rounds planned out, and any boost that I make will happen after this. I'm sort of
yep.
looking at round four to like get rid of the Scorchers, or round six to get them back in ahead of two. two straight doubles. But anyway, that's a bit far off into the future.
Yep. Can I ask a quick question? There hasn't been much made of Chris Lynn in the talk about the big bass, obviously, because yeah, the strikers did have a double and stuff. He's playing though, right? I haven't heard anything about him not being there. I assume he was at the T10 or whatever, but he's back.
Yeah, he was named in the
Cool.
squad for the washed out game, I think, if I remember
Sure,
correctly.
sure, sure.
Um, so we haven't got to look at strikers at all, but
Yep.
he should be involved from what I know.
Awesome. Okay, sure. Because I think the next talking point we had was going through some of the strikers' main players. So I might let you have a quick crack at that, and I'm going to have a quick look at my team in the meantime and desperately see if I can bring in Matt Short, Chris Lynn, and Henry Thornton into my team with a random cheapie. And if I can make that work with the boost, I'm going to do it. So give me like a minute. I'll let you start talking, and I'm going to play around my team.
Sure. So, well, it depends on how many strikers you probably started with on your bench in round one. If you picked Darcy Short, congratulations. Not just because you know he's playing, but I think everything that you've been hearing from the strikers has been just it's just been gold, right? It's been yeah, Darcy Short's going to open the batting. He's going to bat at the top with Matt Short. We think he's a great spinning option, and this is just what you want to hear, right? Heading into round two, that not only will the guy you stuck on the bench in round one, not only will they play, but they'll have a great role, which is just perfect. Um, and I think if you had, let's say, I don't know, Thomas Kenny or Henry Hunt in there, that's probably not as great news for you on the bench. But if um, you might have had David Payne on your bench as well, the English left arm quick, the who was signed as an overseas replacement for Rashid Khan. Unfortunately, he wasn't in the strikers' first squad of the season for the washed out game, but like that's a little bit. I flagged him as somebody to look at in the double because um, he looks like a good pick. He's only 139K from what I remember. Bowls up front, gets the ball to move. He's a left armer, which is great. He bowls a bit at the end. He sounds like a great pick, right? But I think we're going to see like a bit of a reevaluation um, heading into round two, and I guess it helps that strikers play the first game of round two,
Yep.
so you'll know who's playing before you finalize your team. Obviously, I think Matt Short is the standout pick from the strikers. A lot of people, I'm sure, started with Jai Richardson in round one purely because it would help them move to Matt Short in round two, um, which is well, that's a valid reason. Um, I flagged Wes Igor as somebody to look at in the article I wrote for round one. I think he could be a good pick. I've got into more detail in the piece there. Not really going to go over it again. I know there's been some talk about looking at the spinners if they're if whichever of them is going to play, whether it's Ben Menenti or Cameron Boyce. Um, but I think those are decisions that will be taken closer to closer to tossing teams when we have a bit more news about it. I think apart from that, strikers bowler and match short are they 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 seem to be the go-to moves for people based on the places I've looked at in Discord or Twitter or anywhere else.
Hmm. Man, I while you're talking about that, I did have a player around on my team. I can bring in Lynn Short Thornton, but it also means having to trade
Mhm.
in Zampa. There wasn't anyone like I obviously need to make sure Zampa's going to play. What was the Zampa injury again? Was that just his like back or whatever from the World Cup, or was that something else?
I, yeah, I think he might have been sore,
Because
some kind of
sore,
injury flare up.
yeah, sore
Yeah, something like
abs,
that.
back, stomach, something like that. But whatever. Like I think it means having to trade out Nisa, Munro, Billings, and Walter. So essentially, I'm resetting my
Mm,
whole team, which I'm okay
yeah.
to do. It's just that I'm not super excited about having Zampa in my team unless he's going to play because it leaves me with
Mm.
10K. And I am, as I said, desperate to go hard on the fixtures. So it completely revamps my team. Anyways, I won't go. I won't go too hard on that. Um, I think yeah, in terms of like potential approaches. Sorry, I'm just going back to our notes for a second.
Mhm.
In terms of approaches, are you how many strikers are you going to be aiming to have in your team?
So I already have one. He's coming off
Yep.
the bench. That's Darcy Short. I'm hoping to trade in at least uh, two more. I'll think
Yep.
about a third, but at the moment I have two on my radar. One of those is Matt Short, the other's Weziga, obviously subject to team news and all of that
Yep.
other stuff. Um, I actually think Chris Lynn could be a good pick. If you decided to go for him, I wonder if you remember this last season, but he was on an incredibly consistent run last season. Like it felt like he just hit 20 in every game. And I just sort of
Yep.
looked at our dashboards, like our Supercoach dashboards, just like right now, just to make sure that I was getting this right. And he hit 20 plus in 81% of his innings. So
Damn.
he was like a very, very high floor player, like super consistent. He didn't have that many 50s, like that many like big scores, but he was like so reliable and so consistent and just so solid, I think,
Yep.
that made him like a great pick. Yeah.
Well, I think depending, I assume this game, assuming this game doesn't get replayed, I think I'm going to go for a combination of desperation and upside, which pretty much sums me up to a T. And I try to go. Well, Matt Short is like, yeah, like I assume everyone will at least look at bringing him in, if not actually do it. Just like you, I've already got Darcy Short, and I think I'm going for the upside of Thornton and Lynn. Um,
Mm.
Most likely. Like I'm gonna try to figure out a way that I can get it done. I'm happy to sacrifice Monroe. As you probably know, I don't really care about form too much. Like he's gotten a big score, and did he get 99 and 49? I forgot what he got in that second game, or
99,
47 or
46,
something. Yep, yep, yep.
46.
I'm completely happy to trade a batsman who's only a batsman coming off two good scores. I'm not as excited about trading out Nisa, but it's not like he has a double coming up anytime soon. So I'm also so happy to sacrifice him. I'm just the only thing I don't like about my trade plans is that I'm happy to sacrifice both of them, but then I'm also happy to piss off Walter, but I'm having to make it like four trades, including trading Zampa in, which I don't love. So I'm just going to play around with the numbers a little bit and see if I can get um, three Heat players out for three strikers without having to bring in Zampa for no reason. But anyways, I'll get into that a bit later. The next
Um,
thing you've mentioned, I no surprise, I disagree with. So you've said easiest captaincy of the season, straight C on Matt Short. I almost always try to use the VC loophole. Why did you have the straight C on Matt Short in mind? Is it because you can't do the loophole or you don't want to?
no, oh man, I've got this whole thing. Now that I know what looping is, I've actually got my own
Yeah,
independent thoughts about it rather than
yeah.
okay, so I guess with Matt Short, it's who else would you want to captain? Like think about let's say just imagine Short has a quiet game in the first round. Let's just say
Mm,
he doesn't do very much, makes like 10 runs and bowls one over for 10 or something.
yep.
Uh, would you, I don't know, would you bet against him failing two games in a row? I know you don't really consider form,
Mm,
but uh, I just I'm just trying to think about how I would. I look at that strikers team and I don't know if there's somebody I would be. I'm not really sure. I
that's
feel
actually
like
a great call. Mm,
I just like I don't find it too convincing. Uh, it's just I also feel like thinking about, oh, should I VC Matt Short and then try to do all of this and then I sub out somebody else who's playing later in the round, or like I feel like that's straying into overthinking a little bit, and
mm,
maybe I shouldn't overthink it. Maybe just captain Matt Short straight up. Um, One thing I will say about like sort of the whole VC and all of that from the first round, I thought about doing a bit of a VC, or whether Nisa or Munro, one of those guys. But I went straight C on Munro. Couple of reasons. One, I thought, well, this guy's got a good record against um, stars, and in any event, the third game is the one I'm hoping for him to haul in. Plus, everybody else, let's say whoever played later in that round, let's say Berndorf, for example, like one of the Perth guys. I thought, man, I picked Berndorf and I picked Hardy because specifically because I thought they would do well against the teams that they're playing in that first round.
yep.
Like, why would I want to sub them out? I know it's probably a
Mm,
little easier to say now that I have 99 from Monroe under my belt and he made 46. So maybe it's easier to say for a vice captaincy rather than a bench loop for a normal player.
Yeah.
But like I'm not sure like how this whole match short thing would go otherwise.
Yeah.
I feel like it might go down the same road. Yeah.
That's actually a fair call. Like looking at my team, firstly, it looks like dog shit. However, I look at my team, it's disappointing me. But if I do that, that's actually a great point. Like I'm just so used to the VC loophole with NRL Supercoach. Actually, it may be a little
Mhm.
bit of a yeah, because in NRL you almost always would loop. I'm thinking Supercoach, but anyway, it's like looking at my team now. You're right. I can't really see a Jesus Christ. I don't really have an all rounder that because my thing is like if I'm gonna be looping, I'd
Mm,
want the like an Aaron Hardy is the closest that I would get, and he might not really get overs in a closer game for the Scorchers. He might only there's
mm,
Cooper Connolly as well who played really well. But anyways, like I do understand your point. But yeah, interesting conversation. I think I'll almost definitely still go. I will actually like definitely go Matt Short vice captain because I've got Maxwell and Stoinis to loop with anyway. So there's no way I'm going to straight
mm,
see someone when there's no harm in vice captaining them. But you're right, like the captaincy options are pretty thin. Uh, even if Short does. Sorry, I think the scenario in which this works, by the way, is if Short flops with the bat and also maybe only gets an over or two, or doesn't bowl
mm,
at all. Then if you've got someone who is an all rounder, let's just say theoretically, Aaron Hardy bowled 3 overs in the first game, and you think he'll bowl three again, which he didn't. I think he ended up bowling two or 2 point something.
something like that.
Yeah,
Um,
so theoretically, if you had that perfect player, which is Aaron Hardy, for example, who bowled 3, 4 overs, bats at number three, then you could vice captain Short and then captain Hardy. But if you just don't have
mm.
someone who's good enough to captain and Short's got two cracks at it, I think, yeah, straight captaining does make sense. I'm not going to talk anyone out of straight captaining him, but I think I'll almost definitely go the VC route. And you mentioned
That's totally fine
something
as well.
yeah, I think you mentioned something around uncertainty. Will Sutherland is one that'll really piss me off if he goes on to really do well consistently throughout the season because I think like looking at his role, like he is at that sort of like number 6 or 7. He's only ever going to be a finisher in that batting order, and then like yeah, he got two for not very many, I think, in the bowling spell that he had, but it's not like he bowled death. He like I didn't see how he got his wickets, but it was more that like he got 2 wickets without getting junk death over wickets, and then he's batting at number 7. So it's not like he's got a great role, but geez, like he's talented and he did really well. I have no idea how to read that situation. I'm not sure if you had a chance to see that Renegades game when he did really well, Shane, but keen to hear your thoughts on Will Sutherland.
Yeah, so you mentioned the fact that he bats at number 7. Man, given what I saw in that first Renegades game, he'll have no trouble getting enough time out in the middle, even if he's batting at 7 in that team. That,
Yeah,
that is a brutal top order. There's your favorite commentator, Aaron Finch, ahead of him. There's John O'Wells. There's who else even plays for them? Well, I mean, they'll have Quinton de Kock, I think, now. That might hopefully change things.
yeah,
So maybe that'll give them a bit more bite at the top of the order. Mm, hopefully. There's Jake Fraser McGurk, obviously, who had a good little innings actually. Like he just like came down, hit the fast bowlers over long on, big sixes. Exciting. I think he was really, really exciting. And you'd have been rewarded had you picked Fraser McGurk. Anyway, that's a slightly separate thing. But
yeah.
um he's he's Sutherland's I think it's go time on him now. I think if you were anything like me where like, oh, I don't know about Sutherland. Will he get to bat enough? Will he get to bowl enough? I want to wait. I want to see what his role is. I know he has a double in round one, but I'd rather wait first. Um, that's fine. Like even if you missed out on Sutherland's round one points, I think that's okay. Like it was totally okay to wait for his role, just to
Yep.
just for your own peace of mind. And now you know that he's bowling 4 overs through the middle. You know that he might share the new ball a little bit. He actually took one of the only 2 wickets to fall in that shortened that abandoned game against the
Oh,
Scorchers.
far out.
I think.
Bloody hell.
So yeah, so I think he's sort of, and he had a massive price rise, obviously, because of how well
Mm.
he did. And he's, I want to see how popular he is, because he was quite popular at the start of round one, and I feel like he'll only climb up from here. Yeah, he's
That
owned by
yeah.
25% of the game.
Yeah, that's one thing I haven't played around with. I haven't looked at who's increased a lot in cash and decreased a lot, and I haven't looked at selection percentages at all, which might actually be a good sign to have a quick crack at that. So Shayna, in the
Hmm.
lots of uncertainty roles wise, are there maybe one or two players aside from Sutherland that you want to quickly chat about while I bring up the percentages and salary rate changes?
Oh yeah, so I'd love to get into Scorchers, sorry, into Strikers picks in a second.
Yep.
Just a couple of things really quickly about going back to Strikers, about how to play this, and I'm sort of reading off my notes here. How to play this Strikers double plus Heat have a buy. Sorry, it says Stars have a buy now with a double the other side. How to play the Strikers plus Heat have a buy in round three thing. Don't carry into round two any more Strikers or Heat than you can't shift on the other side. The good strategy is to trade in your Strikers for your Heat, because there are definitely some Heat players you would not have if not for the triple, so that you're not increasing your overall number of players on a buy in round three. You mentioned a little bit earlier that you're looking at swapping out three of your Heat guys for three Strikers guys. I actually think that's perfectly fine, because you're getting three guys who are in on a double, and you're not adding to your list of problems by getting in more guys who'll be on buys in round three, because you need an exit strategy for those two clubs in particular, I think. Uh, Plus, with just the whole uncertainty thing, um, and this is true for strikers picks in general. I think not just for guys who we don't know very much about, like guys like James Baisley at new clubs, or maybe Chris Lynn, who's coming back from the T10 or whatever. But it's like we haven't got to look at the strikers yet. They're the only team we haven't had any look at. Um, so we're walking into a double. Strikers is only double from the season, if I'm correct, with
Yep.
no info at all. Um, Maybe just don't panic if this double doesn't go as well as you hope, which obviously it's not really much comfort to people who didn't have a good round one. But
I think
you are making a lot of decisions based on faith, I think. Like it's like how I was a bit cautious about Sutherland heading into round one. I was like, oh, I don't know what his role is going to be. Well, maybe I don't know about what James Paisley's role is going to be, what Cameron Boyce is going to do, or like how much will he really bowl? Will Matt Short bowl a lot of overs? Like we don't know a lot of the stuff at all, and we don't know how the different strikers pieces fit together. So you will get stuff wrong in this round. Just don't tear up your plans and raid sell people, I think, because you, like everybody else, is making these decisions a lot more based on faith for the strikers than for other clubs by now.
Yep, I think you could just close your eyes, think back to 2018, and just pick anyone with the last name Lynn and Short, and that includes Matt Short. Um, I'll just have a quick look at the ownership percentages, by the way. So obviously this is
Mm.
biased because it's only been one round, and I've looked at the ranked in top 10% ownership percentage. So like the humans in the top 10%, looking at the players with the highest ownership percentages of that bunch. And obviously, because it's only been one round, like Colin Munro, 90% ownership, no shit, because he's obviously gunned it, and therefore those people are in the top 10% because of him. But just a few others that I thought would be interesting. Maxwell, 85%, Sutherland, 73%, Curran, the same, Tom Curran, 73, Darcy Short, the same, 73%. I thought that was interesting. Hardy, Felipe, McDermott, Cooper Connolly, and Billings, all above 60%. And then Zampa, Fraser McGurk, Swepson, Nisa, Matt Short, Danveer Sangha, and Paul Walter, all above 40%. So I thought that mix was quite interesting. And like I don't know, like this season, this style of game suits me when I'm having to catch up from behind. And I think just like something
Yeah.
like crazy, like trading out Monroe, I don't mind that now because I had him, I didn't captain him. 90% of people have him. No one else is, I assume, really going to think about trading him out, which means that like as
Mm.
long as I'm bringing in people who I'm confident with on the double, he's pretty much my only way of getting Matt Short in without ruining my whole team.
Mm.
So it looked a little bit silly when I did it for the first time, but now I'm looking at this, I'm like, it's kind of the only way that I can I can go ahead almost. Um,
Yeah.
and I was trying to look for price changes, but I
You
Can't
know,
get that.
yeah, no,
Yep,
I was just gonna say maybe like one of the reasons why I want to hold on to Monroe is he's projected to rise in value, um, like now.
yep,
And I think you know what, let's just let him get that price rise. I want to get the benefit of that price rise. I'll think about selling the other side. Let's worry about that later. Round three, it's a buy for the Heat. I can probably sell him then if I want to so bad. I think that
yep,
applies to a lot of the Heat picks in general. You know, guys like Munro who did really well, Swepson who had a massive price change from what I remember. Kuhneman rose in price, and I think somebody else rose in price as well. Can't remember who it was, but these are the main three that I remember. But you know, like and all those guys, you can imagine how far sub-zero their break even is.
yep,
So if you can hold on to them for maybe another round, and you can get that extra cash out of them, and then you can sell in three anyway because they've got to buy then. Um,
yep,
it's okay to sell now if you're getting strikers instead because they're on the double, but there is value in holding on to those. I think those three gun heat picks at the very least.
yep.
Munro, um, Munro, Swepson, and Kuhneman. So, like what you said is totally okay. Selling Munro to get match short, totally fine. Same thing with Jai Richardson. He did well. He has a good game this round, but if you're getting match short, then you're getting match short.
Yep. And I think it's like the for me, like, yeah, it's annoying because when you start poorly, like you start off with not having an increase in cash or like enough of an increase in cash, and then you get desperate or like you may choose to get desperate and make moves to catch up on points, but you're always fighting that battle of, well, if I'm chasing points, I'm likely like not gonna be actually getting that cash generation from getting the right sort of cheaper players that have a long way to go in terms of cash increases. So it'll definitely be one that I've got to balance, and I can't really see an easy answer to it. I think the only solution that I can see is sort of like A, them bloody playing that game that got abandoned, and B, nailing these strikers picks and the strikers actually doing well after I go all in on the fixtures again. But anyways, we'll see how that plays out. I thought we'd just finish off very quickly, Shane. You had a point around um, the Perth bowling attack. We're looking at the fixtures a little bit going ahead to the next round. Maybe we could just sort of have a quick sneak peek into that last point, and the rest of it will. I was going to say you should, if you Google Wiki Linktree, obviously you can listen and watch the podcast that we're doing now. But so we also do a collab post with Honeyball, looking at key trade targets. And so Shane obviously breaks down some of the analysis behind some of the picks that we're discussing as well. So please follow us on socials. You can find much more of that. And so Shane, you can do like a couple of minutes quick recap on the last point that you had there.
Sure. So there's a couple of games besides the Strikers double. So they have so the Strikers have a double of the Sydney clubs, so they play Thunder and Sixers in their double. But there's two other games besides. There's Scorchers playing Hobart, and it's Renegades playing Heat. We've had a look at the Scorchers, unlike the Strikers, we've had a look at the Scorchers bowling attack. It's as gone as ever. No surprises there. And that all our fears about Hobart's batting, they pretty much come true. We know that that tail is long. We know that the batting is brittle. We know that it's Wade and McDermott against that Scorchers pace attack. If you still have your Scorchers picks, they're not essential because they don't double again until round six, and then they have consecutive buys in the middle. But honest to God, if you can just hold on to your Scorchers bowling picks for this round, you'll probably be rewarded yet again because they're playing at home against a pretty shaky looking Hurricanes batting. And don't tell me you don't love the thought of Berendorf pulling another double wicket maiden at McDermott, and getting McDermott and Wade out. Um, and I think that those wickets are going to be shared around. I think it's difficult to say that for the batters as much because the Scorchers game is the second game, I think, and you obviously won't know if they're batting or bowling by the time you lock in your team. So if you have like a Turner or Evans or like even like even like a top order bat like an Eskenazi or a Cooper Connolly, how many will they really have to chase? What if Hurricanes bat first? Um, but you know that the bowling is going to do well regardless of the outcome of the toss.
That's
Um,
sorry, just very quickly on that last point. We were at the well, we were in office, we were in an office, sorry. So Shane, me, and other well, the rest of our team, whatever. I'm going on about the wrong thing. Anyways, just as we're about to watch the game, I was actually we were making draft styles team for a bit of fun amongst the team, and I was telling the guys that you want to be careful, especially after the toss, about picking someone like a Laurie Evans because he may not get much of an opportunity. And obviously they ended up rolling the Stars, and Laurie Evans did bat. I think Turner was the last guy to bat. And I think it's actually a very valid point for Supercoach as well. Like if you do, I don't see any reason to really have an Evans or a Turner in your team, but if you do, you really got to be wary of them batting second because that's like not very often does the sort of aside from a final when they get saved out of nowhere, but not very often does a Scorchers middle to lower order get tested. Aside from some of the crunch games, so I think that's a pretty important point.
Yeah. Honestly, even for the Scorchers top order picks, I think it applies to them as well. Because what if they only have like 105 to chase again? How many will Cooper Connolly even get? He could get a nice little innings, like he could play like 20 of 20 of 20 of 12 or whatever
Didn't
he
he do
can
that
do.
yesterday? Didn't Cooper Conley get 22 off 9? Or did I read that wrong?
Something like that, yeah, like 20,
Yeah.
20 of 10 or whatever, which is obviously like a handy little innings, but there won't be that much to chase.
Mm.
Yeah, that's essentially my point.
No, fair enough. Awesome. Well, I think, yeah, like what is it now? It is Thursday night Sydney time. So most of you checking this out in Australia would see this on Friday at some point. We'll have our collab post with Honeyball talking about some of the key trade targets at some point in the next couple of days. We'll be doing a lot more. Like the community's finally lighting up a little bit now that the BBL season started. I know it was a bit of a buzzkill this weekend with a couple of the games abandoned, but I think after this test, we're going to be very, very relieved to finally have some BBL action again because this test is going to, well, it looks like a snooze fest. And it might be over in 3 days. But yeah, anyways, we'll catch you guys just before the BBL auction kicks off again next week. Google Wiki Linktree, you can find this podcast and everything else. And I hope your team is doing a little bit better than mine. We'll catch you guys soon.